they begin to reconnect with their mother? Maybe not on your behalf, but maybe you felt that for your wife or Janice, who had raised them.
Uh, I think I might have felt a little bit of that. Yeah, mostly for Janice. Um,
But you were intentional in suppressing that.
yes.
You knew, I've got to hold this down. It's not fair for me to interject my personal feelings toward this person into
Right.
their life.
In fact, it wasn't until not too long ago, after they had broken that relationship with her off again, that I actually told a good portion of what had happened. I think I told my oldest son. I'm not sure how much I told, and it wasn't. There are some details that I still know that I would never tell them because it's just some very bad stuff that they don't need to know.
Another thing I thought about when you were talking about this was, there's a chance. It didn't happen in your case, but there's a chance that she's worked things out in life, that she's grown, that she's matured, that she has found Christ, that she's a different person than she was when she left. If that were the case, you had done nothing in your children's lives to create a preconceived idea of this woman, and they could have accepted her as
Right.
the new person. Where if you hadn't have done that, they would have had all of this baggage going into a relationship that potentially could have been good, because we do believe in forgiveness. We do believe in restoration. We do believe in people getting second chances, and that God reworks their lives. If that would have been the case with her, and she comes back 28 years later, repentive and remorseful, you had not done anything to damage that potential of that relationship.
Right, and there was a couple things that happened that I thought, well, they're choosing her over me, such as they would take a long trip to go see her. Lived a lot closer, and they didn't come see me.
Right.
So those kind of things hurt, but I didn't say anything to them about it. Never did. And here's if you're in a situation like I was, anything close to that, the one thing that I realized was that all the years that I had them and raised them, if we didn't have a strong enough relationship, if they didn't see the good that I had done in their life up to
Right.
that point, and because she did tell them some things from what I hear, I don't know, but from what I hear. But if they didn't realize how good I had been to them over the years, there wasn't anything I could say that's going to make me look any better.
That's right.
It just made me look like I was
Being petty.
exactly, yeah, being petty. And
So let's go back now and talk about what can you do to have a successful divorce. We've talked a little bit about, you don't need to talk to your children about their other parent, about your spouse. It's not their role to counsel you through this. It's not their role to choose sides. It's not their responsibility to make you feel better about the divorce. And I know it's an emotional time. I know it's a time full of pain. I know it's a time of uncertainty in your life. But your children are not the ones that you turn to in that. Who
That's right.
do you turn to?
that's right. Well, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think one of the things that I don't believe it's good to go to your immediate family, even to siblings or to parents. And I'll tell you why, because there's not an objective view.
Right.
And so I think the best thing to do, and I know this sounds weird, but I believe when you begin to go through the divorce process, you need an accountability partner. You need someone that you're going to tell everything to, but who's going to respond in a way that holds you accountable. For instance, I certainly believe in counseling, so we're talking outside of counseling. This person should have a good reputation, it should be a strong character, a person who they don't necessarily have to have gone through divorce, but they understand how to hold the situation accountable to where they ask you tough questions.
Yeah.
Did
that's
you
right.
did you talk to your children about this? You know, did you what have you lashed out in anger about this? Are you holding on to things you should be turning loose of? At the same time, that accountability partner can also be that person that you cry on their shoulder,
Yeah.
and they are emotionally supporting you. But you do need to be held accountable, and you should want to be held accountable in this very volatile time, because if you go without restraint and without accountability, your pain justifies everything you do. It justifies every
Yeah.
decision you make.
You're just a fire out of control.
That's exactly right.
And you talk about leaning on someone too close to you. They're angry too. They're angry that you got hurt.
That's
so
right.
it's just one fire fanning another fire. But you're right. You've got to find somebody that will speak the truth to you,
That's right.
whether it's something you want to hear or not.
Yeah. And so we're not going to start a business of divorce accountability partners. But I do strongly suggest, and certainly it applies to other areas of our life, but divorce is one of the most volatile times in our life. The other portion of that accountability partner, don't do away with that relationship once the divorce is over and you begin seeking new companionship, because that person can hold you accountable in that respect as well. They can ask you those tough questions. Are you working off strictly raw emotions? Are you at this moment just needing somebody to care about you? Or is this a good, healthy relationship? That's why we see second marriages, 75% of all second marriages ending in divorce. Is because when they get out of one divorce, they're looking for somebody to say, you matter, you're of value.
Yeah.
Let me help you through this. And they get into another bad relationship.
In saying that, would you agree that that accountability partner should be of the same sex?
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah. That never in any walk of your life, any portion of your life, should you have an accountability partner that's of a different sex.
Whether you have a good marriage or divorce.
That's exactly right. I just don't think that's I don't think it's a biblical principle. I don't think it's a good, healthy relationship.
Because you, as you said, they're vulnerable
That's right.
and easy to take
That's
advantage of that broken heart and that emotions.
Right. And again, we're talking beyond counseling, because we all know that when we go through tough times, we often need a counselor, someone who can help us look at things in an objective way.
Right.
But the counselor is not always available. It's not that he or she is not that person you can go to every day. It's not a person you can necessarily call or phone every day, where the accountability partner, on the other hand, would be. So if you're going through a divorce, you're going through this tough time, even prior to the finalization of the divorce, as you're walking through that process, legal separation, divorce, and so forth, find you that accountability partner, and you won't feel, if you can talk to them, you'll feel less of a need to talk to your children about it,
That's right.
and to your family about it. So we've discussed that. So accountability partner, I think that helps you be successful in divorce.
Yeah. I believe in counseling because I've looked back at our videos and it looks like I'm just being counseled as well. That's what
I
I'm
don't
here
know
for,
about
is to be
that.
counseled.
I think we're
You've been my counselor a lot of times, many
we've
times.
kind of walked through this life together more than anything. But go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking about our thing. Our dad was similar to your divorce. Our dad was out of the picture for a good while. Our mother made the attempt to be both parents. and I don't know that that's good or bad, but I just remember, I remember taking us camping, and it couldn't have been, we loved camping when Dad was home, we camped a lot. So we went over to Lake Chico to go camping. We didn't even know how to put the tent up. Remember, there's those pole tents, and some guy had to come over and help us put the tent up. I can remember her taking me rabbit hunting because I loved to rabbit hunt, and her going out with me on the cold winter day and going rabbit hunting. So she kind of tried to play both roles. And so what are your thoughts about that? When now you didn't marry, it was a couple of years before you married after your divorce. Is that correct?
Right.
So
And we were separated for a year. And out of 3 years, we weren't together but 2.
and so what about your?
And it was a traumatic divorce. I don't want to say that it wasn't a light divorce that was happening. Like, okay, it happened. No, it had messed my life up for a while. But you were saying,
So when you were in that in between state there, where there was no mother in the house, you had little kids.
little baby.
How did you manage that, and what were some of the feelings that you went through and the thoughts that you went through as you were raising two very small boys?
Well, I was fortunate that I had family around. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time. And Debbie helped a whole lot, and Mama. But
Yeah, our sister, she
our
was a tremendous lady.
But there was a lot of times that it was just me and them, and changing diapers and teaching, trying to potty train one, and it didn't come easy to me because that was it just maybe it comes easy to some men. I've seen my older son be a very good father at that age of their life, and my younger son has done a good job with his children, and his situation is very much like mine. But what was your question?
Well, so about you're answering it there. How did you manage that?
Oh, how did I manage?
How did you feel? What was the emotions you
Oh.
were going through?
Well,
Because you had to work.
I had to work, and honestly, it was just going through the motions a lot of times, because you're still upset about the divorce,
Mm-hmm.
or in shock, or hurt. I can't say that I was looking for anybody because you're just busy with 2 kids. I was just trying to go through life and make it through each day, and
So
I don't know.
you mentioned Mom and our sister Davy, who were tremendous supports, and Davy really stepped up and helped out.
and she was 16.
16, yeah. You found resources. Okay, so talking about being successful in divorce, one of the things that you do in the middle of a divorce, intentionally search for resources. So you have your accountability partner. You look for resources. Family is a good place to look. The church is a good place to look. Here's a place to look for resources to help you with those day-to-day that you're not going to like this, but I'm going to tell you, you have to begin then, especially when your spouse lives in the same town, you got shared custody. You have to then look at your ex-spouse, not as your ex-spouse, but as a resource
That's
to raise
very
your
good.
children. If you can do that, you can separate the emotion. If you can separate the emotion from it, what you can come to the realization is, in most situations, hopefully, there's another person in this world who loves my children the way I love my children.
Right.
And then they become a resource to you.
I've seen so many divorces that's just not the case.
Mhm.
In fact, they use the children as weapons to hurt the other spouse. I'm not going to let you see the
Right.
kids this week because you didn't pay your child support this week, or you were late on your child support, or and a lot of times, especially if the other person starts dating,
Oh,
then the other spouse wants to say, well, you're not seeing my kids. My kids aren't going around that woman, or my
Right.
kids aren't going around that man. And they don't realize they're hurting the kids.
right.
If you have children in divorce, that can be your only focus
That's right.
as to that divorce. How do I keep this from being a scar on a traumatic scar on my kids' lives?
Right.
How can I make things, even when I had the kids and didn't have another spouse involved, you've got to find a way to make days normal.
Mm.
Routine. Routine. Kids need routine in their life. That's whether you're divorced or not.
Right.
Even if it's two parents together, kids have to have routine. Without routine, they don't know what to expect in their life. Life is coming at them from every direction.
Yep. Which it goes back to what we talked about last time about consistency.
Exactly.
Inconsistency breeds fear.
That's right.
And so,
And
so-
they're already in fear from the divorce.
absolutely.
What's gonna happen?
Even a good divorce, there's still that uneasiness. So we've identified a relationship with an accountability partner. Look for resources and create routine. So those are three things already that we've identified that really can help you have a successful divorce. You also have to remember that your ex, your former spouse, is not necessarily going to approach the divorce the way you do. That does not relieve
That's
you of the
right.
responsibility to continue to try to create these things, a relationship with accountability partner, look for good resources, and then creating that.
But you don't
routine.
know my spouse. Every time my kids go over there, he's bad-mouthing me. He's dating a woman, he's got her living there, and every time my kids go over there, she's bad-mouthing them. She gets on to him too hard. He gets on to him. When the kids are with him, other than physical harm, there's not a lot you can do.
Right.
And you shouldn't be looking for every opportunity to get that other spouse. I want to get him, and
Right.
I've even spouses, and divorced parents even prod their kids to find out, okay, what went on over there?
Right.
What
Yeah.
did y'all
Ask
do?
questions when they come home.
Yeah.
And,
Kid,
Right.
that puts the child in a place they should not be.
right.
Again, when you decide you're going to have a divorce, your husband, you may feel like he is your enemy now, or she is your enemy now, your wife. But at that point, once you get the divorce, and it can be messy, it can be just very traumatic, very messy. There's so many scenarios in divorce, but it doesn't matter what the scenario was leading up to the divorce. Once that divorce is in place, he's not your enemy,
Yeah. He actually
or
becomes.
she's not your enemy.
They become partners in raising your children.
Partners in raising those kids. If not partners, at least you're not enemies.
Right.
You should be able to hand off the kids back and forth without any trouble. And if that takes law enforcement being there when you hand off the kids, that's fine, do that. But it will keep things civil.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't ever have to like that ex-spouse again. And what you've really got to get to, and this is a healing point, the sooner you can get to the point that that spouse has no control over me. That spouse has nothing to do with the rest of my life other than being taking a role in helping raise my kids. Other than that, that spouse has no control over me. So why are you still fighting the war
Right.
that was going on before you got a divorce? Didn't you get a divorce to stop the war?
Yep. Yeah. So the being successful in divorce is going to be an intentional process. It's not natural. It's an unnatural process. It's unnatural for us not to retaliate. It's unnatural for us not to share our pain and to voice our dislike and our discomfort. So it's a very unnatural process. But in order to be successful, you have to step outside of the emotional, become intentional, set some parameters, get some good resources, get some good relationships, create some routine, do those things. Here's the thing that's going to come out of that. Your own personal mental health is going to be better.
Yes.
And if you can get to the place where your personal mental health is going to be better, like you said, healing's going to come, and it's going to come quicker. It's going to come easier.